Hello, it's Alpha here, and today we are back on the regular arena side of things. And this video will kind of have two parts in it. The first one is going to be a quick update on the defense team that I'm currently using on the regular arena. And on the second part, I will show you some of the teams that I was testing on the Pioneer server. And the idea was kind of to try to come up with some teams that don't utilize Igor and Dunlingr, for example. So if you don't have those heroes, then maybe you can use the teams that I'm showing here instead. But let's get started with the team that I'm currently using. No real big changes with my team. It's pretty much the same team that I showed about a month ago. But the one thing that has changed is that because the new season started, we don't have the same Arena 5 special map anymore, which I used on my previous defense. So we have to find a new map to use. So I did try a lot of the different maps, but I couldn't really find a good replacement for the old Arena 5 special. And I think the best map that you can use is the old Arena 3. So in case you haven't played AFK Journey for that long, Arena 3 has kind of been the favorite map for a lot of people to use for a long time. So that is what I've been using for now, at least. So these are two examples that you can do on the Arena 3 map. So the team is still the same. We have Igor, Cyran, Bonnie and Dunlingr, and those four heroes are kind of the core of the team. And the idea is just to spread the debuff from Bonnie and Cyran into the enemy team, and then your Igor will stall the fight while the debuff kills the enemy. And Dunlingr is there to prevent any fast ultimate tips from casting ultimates. And then the last hero that you use is flexible. So for example, I was testing using Athalia as the last hero that you can see here. And she can definitely work as the fifth hero in this team, because she works well with Igor stalling the fight, and even if your Athalia dies during the fight, she can still keep on doing damage in the lance form. So that's why there is also synergy with Igor in this team, so Athalia can work. And then the other option that you have is Cyran, and she is also kind of this stall hero that has the potential to win the fight on her own, but also synergizes well with the stall strategy of killing the enemy with the debuffs. And Cyran also provides some extra tankiness for your team because she gives the shield at the start of the fight to some of your heroes. So for example, with this placement, she gives the shield to Cyran and Bonnie so that they are a bit harder to kill. So they are kind of three main things that you should maybe keep in your mind when you're trying to come up with placement with this team. You want most of your heroes at least to be close to Cyran at the start of the fight, because she provides the spark buff to your allied heroes who are within 2 tiles of her. So you can see with this placement, she is within 2 tiles of all of the heroes. The second one is obviously your Dunlingr gives buff to one of your heroes so that they can cast their ultimate even while the Dunlingr's effect is active. So if you are using Cyran, for example, and you want your Cyran to be able to cast her ultimate, so that's why we have Cyran in the front. But if you're using the top team, I would say it's not as important who gets the Dunlingr's buff. You could try switching around Athalia, so that Athalia is where the Igor is now, and then Igor is back. And then the last thing that you kind of want to keep in mind with the placement is that is it possible for the attacking team to use assassin heroes to target some of your key heroes? Especially targeting your Bonnie is going to be bad. So you don't want your Bonnie to be in a position where something like Sylvina can target her directly, because it can mean that your Bonnie dies even without being able to cast the debuff on the enemy team. And a lot of the damage, as you can see from the screenshots, comes from your Bonnie's debuff damage. Now, if you don't have Athalia or Cyran, or just in general, if you want to try Cyran, for example, because Cyran can be really good in this team as well, so you could try some placements like this. The one thing that is a little bit tricky with Cyran is that you have to place your Dunlingr in such a way that your Cyran gets the buff from Dunlingr so that your Cyran can cast ultimate. But these two placements are examples where Cyran will get the Dunlingr buff as well. Now, if you don't have Igor but you have Cyran, you could definitely try using Cyran as the replacement for Igor. I haven't done much testing with this version of the teams, so I don't know how well it would perform compared to the Igor version, but it could definitely work because Cyda and Athalia is also a powerful combo. And then the last version is using Talene as the 5th hero, so instead of like Cyda, Athalia or Cyran, and she can work well in this position as well, because she does magic damage at the start of the fight, then she can usually revive a couple of times during the fight, and then enemy has to deal with her at that point, or if they don't deal with her, she can do a lot of AoE damage. And she also gives the pyre effect to Igor, and Igor is usually the hero who is alive for the longest, and then with the pyre effect, Igor can burn enemies next to him. Yeah, that was the update on my team's placement, and then I have a couple other team ideas if you don't have some of the heroes that was used on the previous team comp. So a couple of these teams are built around the combination of Cyran and Thador, because with Cyran and Thador, your Cyran is able to cast his ultimate like after just a couple seconds into the fight, and Cyran's ultimate does a lot of damage, especially when combined with Thador's Mythic Plus ability, which reduces the enemy's defenses and does damage as well. So that combination alone is like a decent burst of damage. And then I tried some different combination as the last 3 heroes in this spot. So the first combination of 3 heroes is going to be Aaron, Ravion and Lilimey. Now, instead of Aaron, you could use Brian as well if you want. But the idea of this team is just to be like a burst defense team. So Aaron is there mainly so that if the enemy uses Lilimey, the Lilimey will interrupt your Aaron, and then afterwards your Cyran can cast ultimate and group up all of the enemies. And then Ravion is just giving attack buff to Lilimey and Cyran or Aaron, and then hopefully you can burst down the enemy team. And this can be quite decent against a lot of the typical like Shemira type of teams.
I'll keep them quiet.
The next version that I tested is just the same team, but instead of Lilimey, we have Indris, because I wanted to test is Indris like a viable hero without Aliceth. If you didn't see one of my previous videos, I used Indris in combination with Aliceth, and that team was doing quite well on defense, so I wanted to see if it's only because of the Aliceth that Indris can do well. But yeah, it seems like Indris can do pretty well even in this kind of team as well.
Cheer.
I'll keep them quiet.
Yeah, and then the last combination of heroes is Aeron, Ulmus, and Atheria. And yeah, the idea is the same. We group up enemies with Cyran's ultimate, and then because we have Ulmus, Ulmus will extend the crowd control effect by like stunning the enemies once they are pulled in with the Cyran's ultimate, and then hopefully your Atheria is able to like snipe down some of the key targets like Shemiras, for example.
Let's go harvest together.
Cheer. Homes.
I don't think that these teams are as good as the Dunlingr team, because they can be countered quite easily with Igor and Dunlingr, because these teams don't have that good tools at dealing with Igor. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't win against teams that just have Igor in them. They definitely can win, but they might struggle against something like team that has Igor and Atheria, etc. And then obviously, because we're using something like Cyran and Thador, we are focused on like doing damage with our ultimates. And then if the enemy team has Dunlingr, we can't cast our ultimates. But yeah, that's just how it is. If you don't have the heroes for the other team, then you might have to use something else like this instead. Yeah, and then the last team that I have, it's a Pang team. So here we have twins providing some buffs for your Thador and your Pang. And then Thador is providing energy for your Daemon, and Daemon is buffing your Lily May. And the idea of this team is to be like a tanky team, because you have like the healing and the buffs coming from twins, and like the crowd control immunity coming from twins. And then you have shielding coming from Pang. So whenever your heroes reach like 850 energy, Pang will give them shields. Then Thador is also like a tanky hero that gives shields to himself and the Daemon behind him. And then Daemon gives shields to Lily May, and then gives buffs to Lily May. And then Lily May is also getting buffs from Enlightening buff, and from the Pang, and from the twins. So this is kind of like a tanky team that has Lily May as the carry of the team, and this seems to work quite well against some of the typical attack teams as well.
no need to cheer.
Let's go harvest together.
These are two other versions. If you don't have Pang, you could maybe try these versions as well, but I haven't really tested these teams at all, so I don't know if they work or not. But the team idea is still the same, but just try to like replace Pang with some other options. But yeah, that was the update on my team, and then some other team ideas that you could try if you don't have some of the heroes that I'm using on my team. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye!